Alright, so my other two videos were really kind of focused on preparation tactics and circumstances that can arise just for the whole random summon aspect to this covenant. So this one's going to be more about ear acquisition. This character is soul level 125, which is meta range. I get a lot of games at this level in general, not just for any one covenant. But yeah, acquiring ears, or concords as they're called in the game. I'm gonna posit this. I do think that the Blue Sentinels and the Dark Moons probably have the best covenant reward items of all the others. That's not to disparage any of the other items. I mean, Invaders still get that beautiful Obscuring Ring, which is probably, and arguably, probably the most useful ring you could probably get in the game, or one of them. But the covenants, besides that, are all very similar in that regard, where there's one maybe good tier item you'll get, and maybe a forgetful second one. I know the Farron Covenant, the Watchdogs, they get that cool sword, but with Ring City being a thing, the Wolf Ring is kind of not necessarily all it's cracked up to be anymore, since you could just play the game normally and get a much better version without having to commit to 15 Swordgrass. Or is it 10 with that one? I'm not sure. Aldrich Faithfuls get that cool spell with a catalyst. Is that yeah, a catalyst, a sorcerer's catalyst. It's probably better for super high level. I wouldn't necessarily say it's effective unless you're maybe 150 or higher, but who knows? I haven't really used it. But the spell that comes with, pretty popular, pretty good for sorcerers. The Mad Covenant has two kind of middle of the road items. They're very circumstantial. The Katana and the Warmth spell. They're not bad, but very circumstantial. I do believe that post Ring City 2018 final patch circumstances have kind of rendered the Sunbro Covenant items not as amazing as they used to be, since you can find more useful alternatives, I guess, pretty easily nowadays without having to commit those medals. But it's still easy to get medals. As a Blue Sentinel or a Dark Moon, you may have to resort to farming. I made this character just to kind of showcase this in the video, and even with the amount of times I got summoned, I still had to peel a few ears from these Silver Knights to kind of round out my 30, because there were a couple of slow days in there. But for 30 Concords, you get Dark Moonblade. For 15, you get that really good ring. Now, you might not think a ring giving 2 attunement slots is a big deal, but let me tell you, kids, that's a build right there. If you have less than 10 attunement, that's 2 slots that you could use. If you have at least 10 attunement and you're min-maxing, that's 3 slots you can use. I really like Soul Level 56. In my opinion, getting the questers and the co-opers are the meat and potatoes of why I like this covenant so much. I'm being really upfront and honest with you. Speaking plainly, there's something to be said about coming in to an entanglement where a buddy and his other buddy are playing through the game, and some invaders just giving them what for, and you just show up and you help them out. I love that. I think at high level, or the higher you go, you're more and more likely to just see the groups. Now, I don't want to besmirch the whole concept of being summoned in at lower level like this one is, or even lower than this. If you get summoned into a territorial zone or a fight club, I want you to think of that as an opportunity. Sometimes you'll have a slow weekend where you may not get any summons at all, and you need those ears if you want to get those items. So if you have a situation where you come in, there's a host blowing his dried fingers all over your face, and you've got reds and territorial spirits coming in and out, just use it as an opportunity. It doesn't really matter if you die or if you get kinda thrown to the wolves. As long as you can pull an ear or two before you get out of that session, that's a win-win. So before you think about using the Black Crystal in that kind of situation, just consider the opportunity you have to run in, do some damage, maybe walk away with an ear or two. Sometimes you'll have a really great session where they'll come in at the right time, the invaders that are present or just so happen to have kind of issues handling your build, and you might walk away with quite a few years for your trouble. Now, as you just saw on the screen, this character right here is level 145. This is actually my Mad Phantom. I invade, or I put my purple sign down really a lot in Ring City at this level. At that level, it's kind of just outside meta, but just for the heck of it, I kind of put on the Darkmoon crest to kind of see what would happen here, and sure enough, I got a lot of territorial summons, almost exclusively so. I want to say that I had a lot of sessions where I came in and the hosts were obviously dry fingering, maybe running around the area, not necessarily playing the game, but just trying to accrue more phantoms into the world to fight. Yes, to gank. Let's be really real about that. But, you know, not for nothing, after a couple of hours of doing this, as a character that doesn't Darkmoon at all, I managed to walk away with 30 plus years. That's a maxed out Covenant just on a whim. So, again, territorial zones, do not think that it's a waste of your time. If you've got this honor mentality where you're thinking, I'm here to help the co-opers, I mean, that's fine, but it might take you a little bit longer to get those ears, okay? I had a particularly good run, I don't have the footage for it, where I walked away from one session with several ears, because two of the invaders I killed at two different points were actually fragrant, or is it fragrant? Fragrant centers, I think. And if you know what that means, there's a Concord well kept that you'll sometimes get randomly. I was of the impression originally that that's if you manage to plug a Red Eye Orb Invader who's actually wearing the Ultra Faithful Covenant, he'll drop the double ear. But I've also heard from some sources too that sometimes if you plug a Red Invader that's in a world and they've already killed a Blue Sentinel or a Darkmoon before you showed up, they'll have a chance of dropping it too, but I don't have a lot of input on that. As far as I'm aware, it's Ultra Faithful Invaders will net you those double ears, but who knows? I guess you can look it up online or find a better source than me to confirm that. Here's another example of just a territorial zone running rampant with all kinds of phantoms, including, and not limited to, Blue Sentinels. Now, the character you see on screen is wearing the Untrue Dark Ring, so I'm actually a Farron Watchdog loyalist in this video. I actually made this character specifically for level 19 because I was trying to do some Farron stuff because I wanted to give the Covenant a real shot, and I wanted to avoid the kind of gank Fight Club parties that typically populate at the ranges I see at 36 and 56 respectively. So what I ended up doing was making a character just low enough to kind of hopefully avoid those groups, and while I was successful, I did run into situations where I was seeing a lot of Blue Sentinels coming in and a lot of weird situations like this. Yes, you saw that correctly, there were 3 territorial spirits there. That phenomenon can also work in the favor as Blue Sentinel, where sometimes you'll have a lone host that's, I guess, dry fingering, and you can have 3 slots filled with Blue Sentinels. It can happen. There's a great video from the content creator I Am Amish, if you follow Dark Souls 3 YouTube channels. Great channel, a lot of great information, but he had one particular video, and as I mentioned, now I realize I don't remember which one I saw it on, so maybe someone in the comments knows what I'm talking about. But he was invading a lone host in the cathedral, and 3 blues showed up. He was able to dispatch all 3 blues, find the host, and then 3 more blues came in. And again, he had to fight 3 more blues in the same session, and then the host. That's 12 tongues for the Blue Sentinels and 1 for the host. That's 13 tongues and 1 invasion. You're never gonna get that lucky as a Blue Sentinel or a Darkmoon, but again, territorial zones will give you the next best thing. sometimes you'll get those ears. Now, I think my best record is maybe 6 or 7 in one session in the territorial zone, and that's pretty damn good as I see it. But you have a tendency of getting disappeared if the red phantoms get excised before you finish your job, I guess. So sometimes you might want to be a little bit surgical, and if you're in a territorial spot that's got a host running fingers and there's territorial spirits and a red phantom, or multiple red phantoms, maybe, or a mad phantom using a red orb for that matter too, maybe in that situation, if you can pull it off, maybe separate the red phantoms or the red orb invaders and try to alternate between them and the other guys, because what'll happen is if you can clear up some of the slots of the territorials and allow for another invader to come in, and it's quite difficult to pull this off in the heat of the moment, I know, but that's a great opportunity if you can do it to kind of keep more reds coming in one session and maximize your ear potential. Now, you don't get ears for fighting territorial spirits, so faithfuls and loyalists, they're just there to kill the host, so dispatch them at your whim. But yeah, level 19. I see a lot of blues. So I got the seed planted in my head with this character. I don't know what this blue is doing right here. I think he just kind of gave up. Don't give up, blues. Fight to the end, okay? But yeah, I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll see what kind of action I get as this character. And sure enough, I got invaded in the cathedral when I was running through level 19 plus 2. Go figure, there's an invader for every area, I guess. So I took an opportunity to put on my way of blue, and I managed to get ahead of the invader who was fighting the 2 blues somewhere else in the level. And in a rare opportunity, I was able to pass through the fog gate and get both of my ally blue sentinels, which I never actually met. And they both walked away with concords for that, so yeah, that was pretty nice. So here I am as a blue sentinel in the swamp. A perfect situation. Level 19, a rare display of a swamp gank, I guess, or a tri-finger party. I don't want to call it a gank. This is more of like, at this level, I don't think you can have an effective gank personally, so I call it a tri-finger session. But it's just chaos. I come in, got 2 reds, a host and his buddy. It's pairing off against one guy, then redirecting on another guy, and it was great. It was great. So yeah, level 19 works. If you're gonna go lower level, like for instance level 10 or level 15, maybe consider +0 or +1 for your weapon reinforcement, but you could probably get a lot of action in High Wall and maybe more so Undead Settlement, since most players don't get the Way of Blue Covenant parchment until they go talk to Emma, which is kind of late in the level. But a lot of players do double back and do other things in High Wall, so you might get those players if you are getting summoned in as a Blue Sentinel. But more likely than not, you'll see people in the Undead Settlement, or you'll see them in Farum. And at level 19, I kind of feel like everything's manageable. This particular character I'm using is on bow and whip detail, but I do have some raw infused weapons just for the damage at this level, just because there's no real stat investment. Now, you may not need the ears at this low level, even though the ring is still pretty good for the obvious attunement investment. And yes, I've seen people pull Dirty Faith builds at level 15 to level 25, so there are people like that out there. But think of it this way: you can get all the ears now, or low level, doing this kind of stuff, so that when you're ready for a high level, or if you want to invade at a higher level and whatever your plans are, you'll have the 30 ears ready to go to get Darkmoon Blade, and you put all the work in early. So that's another benefit as well. Okay, so just consider all of that, and that's pretty much all I have. Good luck getting those ears.